and hopefully any questions that were not answered that you may have will be then brought up. Jen will try to give me some information about, like, try to group some of the questions together. One of the questions I see already is that, will this be in Spanish? What I have done, and I have taken all of the slides and I have translated them into Spanish. Well, it will not be a live verbal translation. There will be a translation. All the slides are translated. Okay, so good evening. This is Marvin School's reopening plan. And here we go. Please understand that there are things that will constantly change throughout as things happen. We are looking at things that do end up changing. And as things change, I would like to, whoops. What, can you guys see anything? There we go. As things change, we will try to keep up with you, update you. And that's what our website is going to do. We're going to try to keep everything updated on the website. I know Jen is doing a nice job of keeping all of that information on the PTA website as well. So to begin, the overview of tonight, this evening's plan is we're going to go over all of the different components of the plan. We're going to talk about enrollment, operations, health practices and protocol, cohorting, and distance learning. So we're going to try to cover all of those things today. Okay, as of right now, we have 69 remote learners. I know that that number will continue to change as parents decide that they don't want their children to be face-to-face and they would prefer remote, or if they choose to go from remote to face-to-face. If you choose to go from remote to face-to-face, the idea is that it'll take us 2 weeks to be able to have that happen, especially in cases where students will need to ride the bus. We have heard from all but 3 parents or students, so we only have 3, no response as to whether the student's going to be remote or face-to-face at this time. So what I would like you to do is to, what I'm going to do is focus on the things that Frank asked me to talk about. Number 1, if students who are not current with their physicals, they will not be able to start school, whether they are remote or if they're in person. So all children their physicals have to be up current. And I know Mrs. McLean is making parents aware of any children that are not up to date. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so I wasn't supposed to include any Google photographs after I taught myself how to use Google. The reason I'm showing you a couple of them, and it's because of parking and the way we come into the parking lot. If you notice the yellow line, that yellow line, the buses are going to come in and they're going to go in their regular area. If you notice the blue line is for all K-5 parents. We are asking that you not park in the parking lot. You're going to drop your child off and we're going to help get them into the school building. The pink line is for only kindergarten parents, and I will show you a little bit about this. So all bus students will have an assigned seat. The first student who gets on the bus will be sitting at the back of the bus. As students enter the bus, they will not pass any student who is already seated. The same thing is going to be happening when we get off of the bus, when the buses arrive here. Students will disembark from the front of the bus to the back so that no student passes another. So entry for bus students is going to be at 7:45. We're letting bus students come in first before all other students because of the fact that buses have to be wiped down and sterilized before they can go on to their next run. This slide was not supposed to be here, so I'm going to skip it. But if you can see this pink line, it shows you only kindergarten parents are supposed to come in and park their cars, walk their child to the doors where they're going to come in, and that'll all be in a letter to you. But only those parents are encouraged to park in the parking lot and walk their children to their classroom doors. Parents and students must wear a face mask while they're on school property, or if you're walking towards school property. I understand that this is probably going to be frustrating for some parents because you're used to parking in the parking lot and walking your children to the door. But please remember, all of the rules that we're putting into place are for the safety of your children, and we will make sure that everyone gets to their class. And it's true, I haven't lost a child for very long. We've always lost a child for a little bit. We know that there's someplace, but we will always find them. So I really want you to make sure that you don't have to worry about us making sure that all children get to their correct room. I'm so sorry, the constant beeping of the people joining is a little distracting. So if you see me or if you hear me stop, it's because I'm letting somebody else into the Zoom. Okay, so going to first or fifth graders. So first and fifth graders, if you'll notice, I have the line going from where they come into the parking lot. You are stopping where all adults will be helping students get out of the cars, and that you're noticing the blue line does not go into the parking area. It goes right out to the exit. And that is to reduce the number of adults that are in the building at one time. So bus students are getting off the bus at 7:45. We are going to stagger the entry for people coming in by cars. Students coming in by cars will be, we're going to wait until we make sure all of the students from the bus are in, and that's when it's not going to be as fast as it has been in the past, where we quickly get a kid out and keep the line going. The idea is to slow the process down so that children are safely distanced as they walk down to their rooms. Adults are going to be in the different areas of the hallways and making sure students do not congregate. And that's the idea for kind of staggering entry. Otherwise, I would have to ask all of the first grade parents to come at a certain time, all the second grade parents to come at another time. That just won't work. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so first through fifth grade students who are arriving by car, we're asking that you utilize the parent drop-off. Your car door will be opened by an adult. Your child should have their screening form available for the adult to see. We will go over that screening form later. Your child must have a mask on prior to leaving the car, and your child will be directed to the correct door as they get off. I'm not supposed to tell you which kids are going in which doors because they are worried about safety and letting everybody know how the kids are coming into the building. But we're trying to space out everything. So it wasn't until last night that I remembered that some of our parents and children walk to school. So I had to figure about what we were going to do about that. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to allow parents and students to walk up to the crosswalk, and it's the lines that are on the parking lot, the parking area, and we're asking that you leave the student at the sidewalk. An adult is going to be stationed there to assist the students to reach the correct entrance. We have some students going in the various entrances, and again, that's to distance students and to make sure that there is no congregation or large group of students at any time in the hallways. So again, we're asking that parents wear a face mask while they're on the property or as they're walking to the school. Okay, so our next area is operations. Each class will have an assigned recess spot. Again, I had a Google Earth picture here, and you're not supposed to know where that is, so that the kids, just for safety. And we're going to have 4 recess aides, but all of our specials teachers are going to be outside to help supervise recess. There'll be only one grade or one class in each area outside for recess. Each classroom is going to have its own separate spot. And the idea of having more than one adult socially distanced wearing masks is to help teach students some socially distanced activities. There are more games out there than I think you can imagine, and the kids can play and have fun, but not be all one on top of one another the way they used to be at recess, where they're running around and playing tag, chase and tag. In school dining, all meals will be eaten in the classroom. So there are going to be 2 different breakfast carts. As the students enter the building, they will grab a to-go breakfast. They will go to their classroom, they'll wash their hands, they will then eat breakfast, wash their hands, and then be ready for the day to start. Snack also will be eaten in the classroom. Prior to eating snack, students will wash their hands. After eating snack, students will wash their hands. At lunchtime, a cart is going to be in the hallway. Students will grab their lunch. I was just talking to one of the ladies who's going to be here for lunch. She was here during summer school, and she said, "Do you want to do the same thing that we did for summer school for lunch?" And I said, "Definitely. We want to be able to make any kind of the process of very little contact with an adult or other children, grab their lunch, go and sit back in their classroom and have lunch." If for those of you that keep getting kicked off, I think it's because there's a limit of the number of people who can be on the Zoom. I'm not exactly sure. We were told 300, but I'm noticing as I'm continuing to click the same people back into the meeting, it might be you're getting kicked off because there are 106 people on the Zoom, and I thought it was supposed to be 300. It might be 100. So if anyone is getting kicked off, this Zoom meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded. Okay, so dismissals. You will see that the same little picture that I have for entry is the same one is for dismissal. We're going to follow a staggered dismissal process. Kindergarten students, you're going to be dismissed first. We just found out today that we are dismissing 15 minutes earlier than what we would have. If we're starting at 7:45, dismissal would have been at 2:35. Dismissal is now at 2:20. And what we're going to do is we are going to move up kindergarten dismissal probably by 15 minutes. So the idea for that is to get kindergarten parents on the property and off the property prior to dismissing any other students. So you'll notice here that all students, all kindergarten students must be walked into, or at dismissal time, they must be met at the door. If you are a car parent, you're to pick up your child at the classroom doors, and that's what we've been doing for years. So once you pick up your child, we are asking that you take your child, go directly to your car, and then you're going to be asked if you have other children who are in the school other than kindergarten. We're going to ask that you go into the parking lot, leave the premises, and get in the car line. So I have a picture for that. So you'll notice there's the pink line. So there, after kindergarten parents have been walked to the parking lot, you're going to be asked to leave the school property, go around and get in line so that you can pick up any of your K-5 students, your first grade through fifth grade students. The reason for that is to just minimize the number of people on the property. Again, it's only kindergarten parents on property, and it's just to help. Everything that we're doing is to worry about, or to think about your child's best interests. I don't know why, oh, there we go. Okay, so with dismissal, we're going to follow just like we did a staggered entry, we're doing a staggered dismissal process. Cars, when this is different than we've ever had it before, first and fifth grade cars, because kindergarten is already off property, will be announced first. So students will be asked to follow the blue outline identified on the next slide. I'm going to do that. What we're going to do is parents are going to each get a number, and you're going to put that on your rearview mirror, and it's going to be facing towards us. So you're going to have a family number 100. So we're going to call family 100, 72, 65, 1 are here for pickup. Now, it's going to be a very slow process until we get this down to a science. The idea is to limit the number of students in the hallway at dismissal at one time. So that beautiful paint job that Mr. G has made in front of the school, that's mostly covered right now by a tent, is not going to be used because we cannot have, can't have students waiting in lines, because you could be the very last car to come. You could be the, you know, the middle car come. So the idea is we're using a numbered system for dismissal. We can talk about that if you have questions. Again, a lot of this information is going to be included in my letter home to parents when we get ready to do, when you get the school, your students' assignment letters. Okay. All righty. Okay. So the idea, again, the idea is to distance out, space out the number of children who are dismissing at one time. I talked with the specials teacher today. We're going to try to call up to 10 cars at a time. Adults will be in the hallway, making sure that children are spaced out. The big problem I know parents are going to have is being patient. The fact that it's going to go a little slower than normal is just going to be one of those things until we get this down to a science. It's important that you stay in line and cars do not pass in front of other cars, because the whole idea of having a numbered system is a way for us to keep track of who's getting in the cars, which students are being dismissed, who's getting in the cars, and then which next group of cars that we can call. Okay. So bus students, if you're a parent of a bus student, your child will be dismissed at dismissal time. So that would be at 2:20. So the dismissal will be done the same as arrival. Students in the back of the bus will get on first. But because I don't know the bus runs at this time, I have no idea who's been assigned to what row or to what seat. We will have to wait to organize this. This system, we had this in place when we had summer academy, and it went very well. The students they knew what seat they were sitting in. They knew which student was supposed to get on the bus first. So I'm going to use that same process of trying to figure out that that plan, and that'll be last moment, because we know that the very last thing to come probably is going to be bus schedules. Any chat, if there's parents who are using after the bell, Carver is going to be here. It's going to continue to be called after the bell. Staff and students are going to be wearing face masks. I don't know where after the bell is going to be in the morning. It's going to depend on enrollment. Afternoon, the enrollment, what we're going to do is we're going to decide which classroom has the most number of students going to after the bell. So let's say Miss Lamb in first grade has 5 students going to after the bell. Mrs. Morawski only has 1. Miss Lewin has none. And one of the other, who did I forget? Miss Palmer only has 2. So Miss Lamb's, we would use Miss Lamb's class for after the bell. So each class will only consist of 10 to 12 students. There's going to be 2 adults in the grade level. And the biggest change, I think, for after the Bell families is going to be that we are not using the cafeteria, and you're not going to be able to park near the loading dock doors. And you're going to have to come in and out through the front entrance. And Miss Reed will be in touch with everyone once we get that systems in place. But Miss Reed has been working here almost all summer with summer school, and I think we'll be able to work that out. Okay, so the next piece of this is medical screening paperwork. So this conversation came up today because at this time there's going to be paperwork that you have to fill out on a daily basis. If your child came to Summer Academy in person, you are very aware of this. It's a form that asks one, is your child feeling ill? Any fever? Have you been out of the country? Have you been out of the state? So on a daily basis, this form is going to be filled out. Bus monitors will be collecting them. We're going to have monitors on the bus to make sure students stay in the bus, there's the correct seat. But there's also going to be staff will be collecting them when the students enter the school. All of the people who are, well, I'm so sorry about the waiting room. Okay, now I have to get back. Can you guys? Okay, great. Oh, I have to go back. I'm so sorry. I clicked on something and I was talking about. Oh no. Oh, I'm so sorry. This has not been my best day. It has not been my best day, I can tell you that. Oh, medical screening, here we go. So if a parent who comes to school, if a child gets on a bus and doesn't have the form, what the bus monitor is going to do is call the school and let us know. And what we will do is call the parent. If a child is being dropped off, you're going to be given another form and you'll be pulled up to the cones, and we'll ask that you fill out that form prior to getting out of the car. Okay, this is probably what you guys are all more interested in. So all desks will be placed so that the center of one desk is 6 feet away from the center of the next desk. So we have our kindergartens will be using tables, and our kindergarten is going to be using some tables, and they're going to be using plexiglass. Some classrooms are divided in half in order to fit the number of students into each classroom and keep the density. Some classrooms are a lot smaller than others. So in order to keep them here, we're going to have to divide them up into 2 separate rooms. The way that will work is a teacher will be in one room, a paraprofessional will be in another room. The students will be instructed by the teacher. Actually, I'm going to get to that in another slide, so we'll talk about that. The big thing for me was keeping both 4th and 5th grade students in the building. And in order to do this, I had to move them into a larger space. And so their 4th grade right now is in the cafeteria, and we're going to put up partitions, and there will be, so 4th grade teachers have already seen how this is going to work. We're going to, there's going to be hand washing stations. Everything that a child has in a regular classroom will have the same situation set up for them in any of the areas that they've been asked to move. Students will not be transitioning. They will be staying in their classroom. The only time that a child would be asked to move, to get up and to transition in any way would be at dismissal and to go outside for recess. We're going to go outside the door that is closest to the child, and because everyone has a spot, we're going to pick the door for the children to go out to make sure that they are not walking in the hallways very long. We have, I'm putting down new markings on the hallways that are 6 feet apart. The lines and arrows that I had before were just willy-nilly placed, and it was more for directionality. It was not necessarily to keep students distanced, but the idea of these arrows are to keep all students distanced. Okay, so when I was talking about hand washing before, your children, we're going to be asking for them to wash their hands upon entry. So then it would be after breakfast, because their hands would be clean before breakfast, before lunch, after recess, and before dismissal, and anytime they use the bathroom. Bathrooms are located, children will be going into only certain bathrooms. We're splitting that up so that there will not be more than one child in the bathroom at a time. Mrs. McLean and I talked about reviewing proper hand washing techniques. She's been very involved in the whole reopening with the Health and Safety Committee. So she's been asked to create a teacher guide for keeping all students safe for the whole district. So that's good to have her on our staff. Okay, so cohorting. The idea of cohorting is to have children staying together for most of the day. So most of your children will be in one cohort. They will be the classroom cohort. I use the word pod here because I wanted to use the whole first grade as an example. Even though they would be in a large pod, there'd be no reason for all of them to be together at once. They might all be having recess at once, but they will be having, but they will be in their own area. So we have a classroom cohort. Students who are riding a bus will be part of a bus cohort, and students in After the Bell would be in an After the Bell cohort. So the idea is keeping children separated from each other, but also together, you know, for things, for distance, for socially distance outside at recess. We're trying to keep the children safe. So the specialist teachers are the people that will be coming into the classroom. So art, music, gym, library, math. Specialist teachers will be entering the classroom. They're going to be working with children for 2 weeks at a time. Now, we had a long discussion about if 2 weeks meant 10 days or if it meant 2 weeks. The idea is that specialist teachers would be going in for 2 calendar weeks. The idea for that is to make sure that if if we have to trace anybody, we know exactly which children were with, which teachers were with what children. Okay, distance learning, and I want to be able to share another screen with you in a little while. So, distance learning has a double meaning in these days. So we have a remote learner who is a student from learning from home, and this student is expected to be part of the entire school day. And I have, when I get to the screen, it's going to show you that Johnny, I named him Johnny, is going to get on the computer after the class has had breakfast. They will stay on the computer until lunchtime. They will have a break for lunchtime and recess. And then after recess, they will be expected to come back onto the computer and then be there until dismissal. The other definition of distance learning is for any students who are in a learning space that is different from where the classroom teacher is at that moment. Those students will also be on a computer. So a paraprofessional is going to be in the classroom to monitor their work. And I'm sorry. There's got to be a better way to have people than having people constantly. Uh-oh. I'm sorry. Oh no. So the idea is that a classroom teacher will be in one room, paraprofessional will be in another room. At some point during the day, probably prior to lunch or after lunch, the two would switch, or during half of the academic day, the paraprofessional will go into the room that the teacher was in, and the teacher will go into their other learning space. And the big thing is that not all teachers have two learning spaces, and so some teachers will be in front of their children who are face-to-face all day long. My next slide is a question and answer slide that I want to try to share with you. Another screen. So if you bear with me. That's not what I want. I'm so sorry. It was here before. Here it is. No. Okay. So as I'm looking for things, Jen, do you want to unmute yourself and let me know some of the questions that people are having? Because there's different things that I can go to and look up. Jen? Okay. Let me go to the chat myself. I don't know where Jen went. Okay, so let's go take a look at some of these questions, and I'm going to start at the beginning. Okay, so there are a couple of questions that people asked about okay, I'm looking for questions. Most of these. Okay, so somebody asked how the program was going to be shared, how this presentation was going to be shared. There is, we're going to post that on the board. Hold on a second. I think this is Jen. Hello.
You have to unmute me because you have everybody unmuted.
Okay. Well, you could. Okay. So hold on one second, everybody. This is not fun. I am not enjoying this at all. I am not enjoying this.